Hello and good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in to this YouTube, and this one is specially made for you. So if you're an ABCom major or if you'd like to excel in the corporate world, this YouTube video is for you. So I'll be introducing to you a lot of communication concepts that could be of help to you as an ABCom major. More importantly, if you're in the corporate world, if you're a manager, if you're into public speaking, if you're writing, then I'll be able to help you and give you some guidance. So number one, communication, the concept that you have to know whether you're speaking or you're writing is the audience. You have the audience analysis, as we call it in Comm. So it's very important for you to know the demographics of your audience, their income, their status, their education, the other information for you to communicate to them. More importantly, it's not only that, you also have to know their geographic profile, where are they from, and the common traits in that community. And also, of course, the most important is for you to know their psychographics profile. You have to know the lifestyle and their habits so that you can implement that in your advertising plan, in your research, in your writing. And if you study them thoroughly, you'll be able to get a lot of information about them. And it's easier for you to choose, number two, the appropriate platform or appropriate medium. So once you're communicating with them, for example, an advertising plan, you have to know what are the platforms they're using, when are they using it, and how often are you using it. So in that case, you'll be able to put those ads in the platform when they are in the platform. So, okay. Also, you have to know the different objectives of what you're writing, of what you're speaking about, of your campaign is. For example, there are campaigns where your only objective is to inform them. There are campaigns where your objective is only to persuade them. So there are some like websites. Your campaign right now, or your segment right now, is just to build brand awareness. But there are times where your campaign is there to build sales conversion. So there are times like in the news, you're just telling them, you're just giving them information. While there are times like in editorial, as you're writing, there are times that it's actually is to convince people to be with your side. So there are times, of course, when you're into sales or advertising, your purpose is for them to buy the product or for sales conversion. So it depends on the objective. So you have always to know what is the objective of this activity. So for example, when you're given a task, let's say to conduct training, the purpose is for you to usually give information. But there are times that when you are conducting a sales training, you'd like to convert them at the end to be a part of your, let's say, email lists. So there's a purpose while you're doing that. Next, also if you're ABCom, it's very important, of course, is that you have to know the genre very well. The genre is like, for example, TV newscasting. You're asked to do TV newscasting. The language there is very simple, very conversational. Well, if you're doing a newspaper writing, it's more passive sentences, longer sentences, or varied sentences acceptable. Unlike if it's a broadcast style, it's always simple sentences, short sentences, and more conversational tone. On the other hand, if the genre is more of documentary, then you have to have pieces of evidence, you have to have narrative and descriptions. While if it's a feature writing, more or less, it should be interesting, and it's more of subjective side, and of course it has to be interesting, and it's more of subjective approach. So genre is very important if you're doing a task performance, or if you're asked to write, like the genre, or where you're gonna, the genre of communication is very important. So the types or the kinds. Next, we have the context. The context is the situations that surrounds the event. So it's very important that when you're communicating, you have to give a complete information as to the context of communication. So the information will always be complete. So once you are doing documentary, you have to contextualize, for example, you're having a feature of the person. Who is he? Where is he from? The basic sociographic profile of the person, so they will have a context of who he is before you talk about or interview that person. So it has not, the communication cannot be fragmented, but you have to contextualize those things. And more importantly is when you are making the message, it has to be always, of course, the message has to always be weaved based on the audience analysis. What are they using? Are they using English or Tagalog? Okay, how narrow or wide is your understanding of the vocabulary, and the syntax or the semantics that they're using, or they're in. So it has to be considered. And so the message, the tone is actually, it depends on the audience, and also the feedback. The foremost, the very important thing is the feedback. So it's very important that you always get the feedback of your audience so that you can readjust the communication, and you can always evaluate via the feedback. So it's very important that you have to know your audience very well, because it's only through in knowing them that you'll get a feedback. Also, you have to allow them to communicate to you so that you know if the communication is understood very well, and if there is still a point or an area where you could be improving on. It always be depending on the feedback coming from you. Thank you so much. I'll see you again. Bye bye for now.